All right. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
All right. This story is called All These Cute Toys by TheArchimage.
Oh, great.
By TheArchimage?
TheArchimage.
TheArchimage. Thank you. I knew it was something like
Is there
that.
any description, notes, anything like that?
There is a summary, but I'm going to skip it. So you have no idea what you're getting into.
Oh, no. Is there anything other than the summary?
Yes, there's a whole story
Oh,
based
wow.
on that title.
Are you going to read it?
I am going to read
the
it.
Title?
Yes, which is All These Cute Toys.
Is this a canonical story?
Did
we say it wasn't?
Yes, it is. So as far as I know, the Archimage, the only Undertale story that's not canonical is the one with the lava, the floor made of lava. Because I think everybody's like really young in that one. But this one is canonical with everything else, I think.
Great.
Here we go.
Interesting.
Yes. It had all started innocently enough. Chara and Asriel had been on Asriel's bed in Asgore's house, Chara sitting cross-legged with a notebook in one hand and a pen in the other, while Asriel lay on his stomach to type onto a laptop. Though Chara was much more skilled with computers, they had a tendency to browse the internet and share memes rather than focus on schoolwork. Okay, I did not say anything about that, so apparently he just knows what you guys do on computers.
Hey!
Yeah.
Wait, did he make this for you?
No.
Oh.
But it might as well have been so far. Goodness. So,
It's not fair that multiple people can have laptops.
yeah, and browse the internet and share memes. Yeah. Guilty silence, I hear now.
Hey!
So, they had been given the low-tech option. No, Asriel, Chara corrected something he had just said. You mixed them up again. Think of latitude going side to side like rungs of a ladder. Latitude, ladder. Get it? Asriel huffed. I hate geography, he whined. I learned a lot of math and science and stuff when I was Flowey, but there weren't any surface geography books in the underground. Even with that dragging down your average, you still have some of the highest marks in the class, Chara consoled them. You probably could have tested into a higher grade than you did. You could have too, Asriel countered without looking up from the screen. It was the short form of an argument that they had had several times before. While Asriel had essentially cheated by bringing knowledge studied over the course of many resets, Chara was naturally more intelligent than the average 10-year-old. Either of them could have been accepted to a school for gifted children, but both declined. Either knew the other had the same reason. They didn't want to be in a different grade or a different school from each other, or from Frisk. Asriel changed the subject by asking, How come we're always doing homework in my room? It's because your room is so boring, Chara said. No posters, no television, no distractions. It's a lot easier to get work done when there isn't a game system or anything to pull us away. Asriel nodded in understanding. I have to believe you keep this place so Spartan on purpose. After all, your room at Toriel's doesn't look anything like... They stopped. Now that they thought about it, what did Asriel's room at Toriel's house look like? They tried to summon a picture of it in their mind's eye, but the only thing that came to mind was their shared room a lifetime ago in New Home. Why couldn't they remember? They were only in there last... Huh. Now that they thought about it, they were unsure when the last time they had seen it was, or even if they had ever seen it. Whenever they were visiting Frisk and Asriel, they always hung out in the backyard, or the living room, or in Frisk's room, but never Asriel's room. You know, Chara said idly, I don't think I've ever seen your room at Toriel's. Asriel's pen stopped writing. Asriel said, swallowing. That's kind of a weird thing to do, just going into someone's room just to see it. His hand with the pencil quivered, though he willed it to be still when Chara's gaze flicked down to it. Chara's curiosity turned into suspicion. It would be one thing if there was a rare occasion to be invited in, but never? They leaned forward to peer over the top of his laptop. Asriel, why haven't I ever been in that room before? Asriel's face was frozen. The hint of tears were in the corner of his eyes, but his mouth stayed perfectly neutral. The question hung in the air for several seconds. The two children engaged in a staring contest. Chara flinched first. I suppose it's not important, they dismissed. I merely thought it was odd, that's all. They knew that their own smile had grown rigid and false, but it was all they could do to keep from screaming out the answer to their own question. I have not been inside because you don't want me there! Chara tried not to be upset about it. This was not bad. It was good. Healthy, even. Asriel had always been a bit too open, a little too disrespectful of boundaries of others, and too unwilling to enforce his own. So, if there were parts of his life that he didn't want Chara involved in, and stuck to his guns about keeping them out, that could only be a good thing. They could tell themselves that over and over, recognize the logic was sound and that it was objectively true. They could look upon how everything ended so long ago when he didn't have those scruples, and how they had betrayed that trust. If that trust was no longer so freely given, well, what right did they have to complain? But that didn't make it sting any less. The boy who was once their best friend forever held out a hand to stop them from entering into a portion of their life. No matter how minor the barrier or how justified its erection, the human spirit would not easily accept being barred from where they had always been free to tread before. It is to perhaps Chara's credit that they were able to keep themselves from descending into true resentment. Not that they would meekly accept Asriel's decision, not without an earnest attempt to steamroll over it. It took a few days of planning, but Chara managed finally to corner Frisk without Asriel being around at the lunch table. Chara had a reasonable suspicion that Frisk was aware of whatever reason Asriel had for keeping him out of his room, but they could hardly be expected to talk their brother's secrets right in front of him. Chara tried to ease their way into the conversation by talking about class assignments, classmates, the weather, and any other type of small talk they could think of. After 3 or 4 questions, Frisk sighed and tilted their head to the side. All right, what's bugging you? Chara feigned innocence. I have no idea what you mean. I am simply making small talk, as friends the same age are wont to do. This was exactly the wrong thing to say. Frisk pointed an accusing finger at Chara and challenged. You have to be really upset to use words like want or to do small talk. Chara realized they had overcompensated again, appearing to be so innocent they absolutely had to be up to something. Fine, I admit that I have a problem that only you can help resolve. Oh, Frisk shifted in their seat closer. The great Chara asking for my help? You gotta be real. They stopped as the word failed to come to them, and substituted. You must need help really bad. I will not be mocked, Chara said, standing. I will simply have to find another to... I'm sorry, Frisk said, quickly motioning for Chara to sit back down. I was surprised. You're smart, so I thought there wasn't anything I could do. But if you're in trouble, I'll be glad to help. So, who do you need me to beat up? No assistance like that is necessary, thank you. The issue is our mutual brother. I have realized that I have never seen the room he has at your house, and his room in my house is rather devoid of decorations or personality. I wondered if this was an innocent oversight, but he rather forcefully denied me entrance. Would you happen to know anything about this?
Frisk. That sounds like a more formal and slower version of papyrus.
Wow. That is quite a comparison. That is quite a comparison.
Okay, a lot less energetic. But papyrus uses some words like that, and he talks like that as well.
Well, whoever this person is, does tend to speak in rather formal terms.
Yes.
And I think the Archimage has captured his...
You mean the Archimage? You mean the Archimage?
Yeah, whoever wrote this story has captured their quality pretty well.
If Papyrus spoke slower and slightly more formally and did not use as much, like... Yeah.
Yes, anyway, as I was saying... Frisk drummed their fingers on the table nervously. Yeah, he asked me not to invite you into his room, and he told me why, but he also made me promise not to tell you. Unbelievable! Unconscionable, even! Whatever problems Asriel had with Chara, they didn't need to get Frisk involved in whatever act of petty revenge he was planning. Yes, Frisk was Asriel's sibling, but they were also one of Chara's best friends. How dare he try to put them in between them? Chara's hands formed into fists unbidden. I have to know, Chara explained. Why doesn't he want me in there? Why can't he let me know why? It's nothing serious, Frisk insisted. It's serious to him. It's not worth getting mad over. You'd laugh if you knew. Coming from someone who knows what circumstances I laugh in, such a statement is not comforting. Frisk frowned. I promised him. He'd feel lied to if I told you, and you would get mad at me for breaking a promise. Chara was about to argue that they would not hold it against Frisk for doing what they told them to, but wisely shut their mouth when they realized, yes, they really would get angry if Frisk broke a promise. They dipped their head and clapped their hands together in supplication. You must understand how vexed I am about this. I can't let this go. If you can tell me anything at all, I would be in your debt. Faced with Chara's begging, Frisk's heart moved ever so slightly. Well, they started, putting together what they could say that would, through an oversight or technicality, not be breaking Asriel's rule. Asriel still thinks you're really cool, and he doesn't want to do anything that might make you think that he's not cool. What? Chara said. You two, of all people, know what a massive dork I am. What would make him think that... Chara, they interrupted, I saw your memories. You said he was a crybaby. You teased him a lot. You called him weird all the time, anytime he liked something that you didn't.
That's an insult.
Chara winced. Yes, that was true. But was it really Chara's fault if he took it so hard? Frisk concluded. If you want him to let you into his room, you have to show him that you won't judge him for it. And how can I possibly do that? I don't even know what I'm not supposed to be judging him for. Frisk held up their hands, symbolically washing themselves of any further responsibility. I told you what I can, they said. You like puzzles. Figure it out yourself.
Chara likes puzzles? Apparently.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Chara was prevented, or spared, if they were being emotionally honest, from pressing the issue by Asriel's appearance. The child boss monster heaved a sigh of relief, evidently unaware of the conversation he had interrupted. Sorry I'm late, he said as he sat down. Somebody went and hid my lunchbox on me. Didn't even take anything. They just buried it under some coats. Who does that? Chara knew that Frisk was staring at them behind their closed eyes, but they knew that Frisk wouldn't say anything. Frisk's sense of morality was skewed, but they were a fierce defender of the playground rules, such as snitches get stitches. Even if by some miracle Frisk could prove anything, they would keep the secret safe. Frisk hummed for a moment, and then asked, "Oh, yeah, Chara, when you came in today, didn't you knock a couple of coats down? That must have been why Asriel had trouble finding their lunch." "That dirty rat!" Asriel turned to stare at Chara. "What could they do now?" "Ah," they stammered. "Yes, something like that happened now that I think of it. I must have covered Asriel's lunchbox by mistake. So strange for it to be there to begin with, but I am sorry. I did not even realize." Asriel waved it off. "Yeah, it's okay. Mistakes happen, I guess." They pulled out a sandwich and a juice box, frowning. "Although, you're usually pretty good about cleaning things up. Why didn't you just pick up the coats you knocked over?" Chara's eyes flicked over to Frisk, hoping for assistance. By the look of Frisk's smirk, however, they were far too amused by Chara's flailing to bail them out. In their heart, Chara promised vengeance for this. "I must have been in a rush, I guess, or something. I'll be more careful in the future." Asriel accepted this with no further questions. Chara wished they could do the same, but now their own question had been replaced by a puzzle. How could they convince Asriel to let them into his confidence when they didn't even know the nature of what secret was being kept from them?
Asriel believes everything. He's too trusting.
He didn't even notice Chara was so, acting not normal there.
Maybe that's because that's how Chara normally
Maybe Chara does act normally like that, except a little more flustered. While they were pondering this, a crisis of a completely different sort came upon them. That Friday, their school held a pep rally for the local sports team. Toriel had offered to get Chara out of it, but they had insisted on not receiving special treatment. This was a terrible mistake. Chara had never been good with crowds, even at the best of times. Dealing with a massive group of rowdy middle schoolers cheering and hollering at the top of their lungs was more than they could handle, and they cursed their foolish pride. They ended up having a panic attack and fleeing from the auditorium, and for 2 days later their nerves were still so shot their teeth chattered. They cursed themselves for being so weak. Dozens of other kids in the school or the city were able to put up with a simple crowd, and Frisk seemed to come alive in such circumstances. Meanwhile, here they were, relegated to their bedroom, unable to take a single step outside. They were curled up in their nightwear, their meals being delivered at the door by Asgore. They held a stuffed pink hippo in their arms, squeezing as if letting go would mean plummeting to their death. Is there something funny about a stuffed pink hippo?
No.
Okay, just checking.
Definitely not.
Just checking. They had still not fully recovered by Sunday, when Asgore's week with Asriel would begin. Toriel and Asgore had been co-parenting Asriel for a few years now, switching off who would take care of them week by week. Since both of them lived in the same neighborhood, it was almost a formality. No matter who he was with, Asriel still went to the same school, had the same friends, had nearly the same life. He could simply walk down the block to the other parent's house if he wanted to, though he tried to treat both parents equally and wouldn't deny either of them their time without a good reason. So, for the next week, Asriel would be living under the same roof as Chara again. And despite everything, they didn't want to miss a moment of time with him. Now, if only their stupid anxiety would get the hint and go away. They heard the front door open, and their pulse spiked. He was here. Asriel was here. It was no use. They couldn't get themselves to calm down. Not when the door closed, not when they heard soft paw prints coming up the stairs, not when they heard a knock at their door. "Chara?" Asriel asked. "Are you awake? Are you okay?" And now they were worrying him. Asgore must have told them that they had not left their room since coming home Friday, and of course Asriel would get upset. Just like usual, Chara could only cause problems for people around them and worry everyone sick over. They caught themselves before the spiral could begin again, remembering what their therapist had told them. Chara had to make an effort to remember not to turn other people's cares into another reason to beat themselves up, to appreciate other people without making it all about themselves. It was odd the way self-hatred made one self-centered, but thinking about their past life, they could definitely see it as true. Yeah, they repeated, being sure they had spoken too softly the first time to be heard. You can come in. They were going to deal with this. They were not going to run away. This was Asriel, for Pete's sake, the one person who had more reason to hate them than anyone else, and who was still willing to call them his sibling. The very least they could do was... Asriel opened the door and stepped inside, moving slowly so Chara could see where they were and what they were doing. All those screaming kids, huh? Asriel said, guessing the reason for their current state. Chara nodded. It was good of you to try. But you don't have to rush things. Nobody's going to fault you if you aren't like me or Frisk. Take breaks away from people if you've got to. Oh! They leaned forward, their eyes locked on something at Chara's chest level. They looked down, and their heart lodged in their throat when they realized they were still holding on to the stuffed hippo. They had, of course, indulged in hugging Asriel's stuffed animals in the underground when they couldn't bear to be around anyone but still needed some anchor to hold on to. However, they had always been careful to hide it from Asriel. When Asriel gushed over their stuffed animals, Chara had outwardly acted with boredom or even with outright mockery. Those things are for babies, Chara had told them. Big kids don't hang out with stuffed animals. After all their teasing they gave him during that time, Asriel would have been well within his rights to point and laugh, or at the very least call Chara out on their hypocrisy. Instead, he leaned in with a beatific smile and waved at the stuffed hippo. Howdy, they called out softly. What's their name? Chara looked down at the stuffed hippo. Gradually their breathing eased and their pulse slowed. They looked at Asriel again. Perhaps the teasing had only been delayed? If Chara revealed that they were the kind of person that not only owned stuffed animals, but named them, would that open the floodgates? They swallowed. It's her. Madeline. Asriel blinked. Madeline? That's kind of a weird name. Even this mild rebuke was enough to set them off. I don't want to hear that from you, Flowey the Flower, Chara snapped with more venom than they intended. In the past, Asriel would have teared up and stammered apologies after Chara lashed out at them unfairly. But this was not the Asriel of the past. This was an Asriel that had been through much more, seen what the depths of depravity he and others could sink to, and had come out the other end with a greater understanding of humanity in general, and Chara in particular, than he ever could have had before. So Asriel gave them a deadpan look for half a second, then dropped down on all fours. He crawled under the bed and started dragging something out from under it. No! That was... But Chara was too shocked to stop him before he finished dragging a plastic container out from under the bed and popped open the lid. Inside was Chara's collection of stuffed animals, hidden out of view of the casual observer or visitor to their room. Chara felt their cheeks burn and clenched their teeth, waiting for the mocking laughter that Asriel had kept in check, but would now surely not be able to resist. Instead, he answered the question that hadn't occurred to them. Yeah, I knew that this was here the whole time. I knew you liked stuffies a little bit, but you'd kept them hidden because you think you're not supposed to like them. Your collection would have been either under your bed or in your closet, so... Huh. Asriel's brow furrowed.
Why is Asriel invading Chara's room if Asriel won't let Chara come into his
He's
room?
just kind of like snooping in front of Chara because he was already allowed in the room.
Well, yes, but... Whatever.
Yep. Asriel reached into the box and drew out a brown bear. Drew, Chara realized. They would have recognized the bear with the missing right eye anywhere. As he inspected it, the left eye of the bear slid off, though Asriel was quick enough to catch it before it fell back into the box. Rather than apologize for ruining the bear, Asriel's eyes narrowed. With an expert hand, he flipped the bear over and read the tag protruding from its bottom. "I knew it," he said with a click of his tongue. "Asbestos 4X. They used a different producer for their thread this year, and it's a lot weaker than normal. There are so many of these bears who have lost one or both of their original eyes." He shook his head and flipped the bear back over, looking from the bear's now eyeless face to the eye in his hand. "Sorry, I am not a stuffed animal connoisseur," Chara grumbled, pulling Madeline closer. "Maybe I wouldn't have bought something so cheap if I had a better eye for that sort of thing." Asriel hummed, but said nothing, still holding the bear and the eye in his paws. Chara licked their lips and asked tentatively, trying to make it sound like a casual request. "Can he be fixed?" "Oh, yeah, I could do that easily," Asriel said. "Mom taught me a little bit of sewing, and I think I have a spare eye that's pretty close to the one that's missing, too. It might not look 100% right, but it'll definitely stay on a lot better when I'm done." "I see," Chara said with a smile. "Then I will leave Drew in your capable hands, Dr. Dreamer." Asriel snickered, but played along. "The surgery will be done in about 2 days. I have to grab my my medical instruments from Mom's house, but I assure you, Mr. Drew will receive the best care in the world." 2 days later, Asriel really did deliver the repaired bear. Drew's new eye was slightly larger than the old one, but by such a minuscule fraction that it was unnoticeable unless one knew exactly what to look for. Asriel dug one toe claw into the dirt and apologized for how shoddy the work was, but Chara insisted that they were more than satisfied with the results.
Asriel knows so much about those things.
Wait.
How does he know that they're sewing?
He has stuffed animals, I bet.
But how
Well,
does
he had stuffed animals at New Home.
He said this year. He said this year they made their thread less.
In the year of 4X.
I'm pretty sure that his secret
Well,
that he doesn't want Chara to see is
How to
like
Save a
stuffed
Soul.
animals.
Yeah, probably.
It was 2040X in How to Save
Yeah.
a Soul. Or 204X.
How do you remember these things?
Because it said so.
The next Saturday, Chara and Asriel went over to Frisk's house. They had worked things out beforehand that Asriel would simply spend the night there rather than head back to Asgore's, only to return the next day for the official switch-off. "Hi," Frisk greeted them at the door with a wave. "I got smashing fighters all set up. We're going to have to practice a lot if we want to beat MK next time." Asriel looked at Chara and smiled. "Actually," he said, "I was thinking we could go up to my room first." Chara and Frisk both looked at each other in surprise. Neither of them expected this. "Really?" Frisk asked. "But you said..." "I think we'll be okay," Asriel said. "Besides, I think they can help us settle the argument. Shall we go?" This last part was said to Chara, who nodded while wiping a single tear from their eye. They had done it! They were unsure how, but they were trusted enough to gain access to his room. Asriel bounded up the stairs, and Chara followed in hot pursuit. They clapped their hands together in excitement as Asriel paused in front of his door. "I know you've been waiting for this, so I hope it doesn't disappoint." With that, he flung open the door. Asriel's room was, well, the walls were painted a pale yellow, and the floor was polished hardwood. The ceiling was covered in star-shaped stickers, and some part of Chara already knew that they were the glow-in-the-dark kind. There was a computer desk in the corner with a bag of snacks and a mug filled with pens sharing space with the monitor. But what got Chara's attention was where Asriel's full-size bed was pushed against the far wall, or where Chara assumed the bed was supposed to be. A gigantic pile of stuffed animals, reaching higher than any of their heads, had been dumped over the top of the bed, covering the entire surface in stuffed animals of every shape and size. Chara could not even begin to count how many there were, and there was no doubt that if a stuffed version of an animal existed, they were represented in that massive collection.
How did Chara know that it was a full-size bed if Chara couldn't see the bed?
The size of the stuffed animal
Pile?
dimensions, yes.
Well, but weren't the beds twin size in
Too bad.
Undertale? So why would
Back in New Home, they have a bigger house, and
it was?
Asriel gets a bigger bed.
And his owner.
And Asriel's like
He's bigger now.
Whatever.
He just gets a big bed. Asriel skipped into his room and held his arms out proudly. So, what do you think? Chara found it difficult to put their thoughts in order. Currently, they were too busy trying to wrap their head around the certain knowledge that Asriel had developed a name and a backstory for every single one of the stuffed animals on his bed to decide what they thought about this. Asriel, they said, pointing to the bed. What is that? Asriel's smile fell. It's... Chara, I thought you liked stuffed animals. It is not the content so much as the quantity which I find difficult to approve of, Chara explained. Your entire bed is covered. Where do you even sleep? Asriel licked his lips. Underneath them? Chara stopped and pinched the bridge of their nose. That seems like an incredible hassle. Why would you do that? Asriel opened his mouth to answer, but then closed it with a determined look. No, you know what? I'll show you. Chara felt Asriel's magic field wash over them, followed by an airy feeling of weightlessness. They slowly floated into the air, Frisk gasping in surprise. Chara's arms and legs flailed wildly in the air,
Asriel is good.
trying to find
He can
some...
lift up Chara.
Yeah, trying to find some purchase from which to control themselves. Asriel, this is not funny! Put me down, right? But instead, Chara was flung headfirst towards the bed. It was all they could do to cross their forearms in front of their face before impact. Instead of knocking all the stuffed animals across the room, Chara sunk into the pile like a javelin hurled into a pile of sand. Their socks stuck out from under the pile, but they were otherwise completely covered by stuffed animals. Chara found themselves unable to move, held in place by Asriel's magic. Don't try to break out just yet, Asriel told them. Just lay still. See how it feels. Chara sighed and resigned themselves to their punishment. It was dark underneath the pile, only a tiny bit of light seeping in between the cracks of legs and arms. Well, you can enjoy them before you get in bed, I
In
guess.
case you need to get up, then you can see them all glowing in their
Or if you just want to, like...
Yeah. Fluff surrounded them on all sides, like they were swimming inside a cloud. Not only that, but they swore they could feel the animals wrapping their arms around them. A sea of hugs that made them feel safe and secure.
What?
Chara? Frisk asked. Chara, are you all right? You haven't said anything. Are you hurt? Oh, Asriel had released his magic some time ago. They must not have heard their sibling and Frisk calling for them. I'm fine. And I'm actually starting to come around to Asriel's point of view. Chara admitted. It really is quite pleasant under here. What's it feel like? Frisk asked. Chara struggled to put their feelings into words. How could they describe this in a way that Frisk would understand? It feels like garbage. Asriel bleated in clear offense, but Frisk
I
asked,
think that's a compliment.
Really? Make way, I'm coming in. They hopped onto the bed and wriggled their own way into the pile. As they settled in, they sighed in contentment. Hey, Asriel called. Save room for me! Chara chuckled. You're the one who introduced us to this. Of course we wouldn't leave you out. Come join the fun. Asriel took the invitation and dove in between Chara and Frisk. The two humans carefully sidled away to make room for him. The pile was just large enough to cover all three of them, so they had to snuggle close to fit everyone.
I thought it was a full-size bed covering that.
Yeah, well, maybe it's the width. They had to snuggle close to fit everyone. Asriel's fur was a different kind of fluffiness to the Stuffies, deeper and softer and warmer. Chara found that they still preferred this to all the stuffed animals in the world. Chara's eyelids drooped, and suddenly it took a lot of effort to keep them open. Hey, Chara said, their voice droning. It's really comfy in here. I might take a nap. That sounds good, Asriel drawled, punctuating their statement with a yawn. But we might sleep the whole day away. Frisk, Chara asked, wake us up if we fall asleep. Okay, Frisk mumbled. In their drowsy state of mind, Chara did not recognize the obvious flaw in their plan. Instead, they reasoned they could relax for a while, secure that somebody would wake them up if they drifted off. And that is how Toriel discovered 3 pairs of legs sticking out from under a pile of stuffed animals when she went to deliver cookies to the children. She only barely managed to contain her laughter, set the cookies down, and then took a picture on her phone for posterity.
Is that it?
The end.
You were able to read it all.
I was.
Just kidding.
Okay, what was the
Daddy, when you
summary?
said you weren't even halfway through it, that took like a quarter of the time.
Yeah, I accidentally had like the comments open, and boy howdy, there's some comments. So they stretched the page out much longer, so my scroll bar was fooling me.
Great.
The summary was, Chara realizes they have never seen inside Asriel's room. How can they convince their brother to trust them with what they'll find there?
Wait, Daddy, what was the argument?
Wait a minute, where is the argument?
Chris said maybe we'll be able to help settle the argument or something like that.
I don't know. I'm guessing that Frisk was telling Asriel, no, Chara's not ready for this. He's going to laugh at you. And Asriel said, no, they're good. They have their own stuffed animal. They'll be fine. Well, yet another one-shot from the Archimage, who tends to produce
You mean the
these...
Archimage?
Who tends to produce these at random times.
It means the Archimage?
No, so this would be like more canonical with the time of the potato gun. And
Is this a try this at home story?
Yes. Totally.
some of you are already trying it at home.
Hey!
In fact, all 3 of you, I think, are trying this at
No,
home.
we only have like a few. We do not
Daddy, I used to have enough stuffed animals to like cover my bed. Not covered, but like...
That's true. You do have a
I
lot.
used to barely have enough.
I don't think any of you have gotten rid of any stuffed animals.
Yeah, Daddy, I
And there's a
used to
giant
have...
bear here on the floor.
Well,
Daddy,
he's
I
only
used to
like 20
have
years old,
enough that
so-
I could barely put them on my bed. And I have a bag of stuffed animals up here.
Yeah, well, and
Emily got rid of like 30 lions. Like
that's
5
true.
years
Emily
ago.
had that big net of stuffed animals.
We need some good tries at home stories like the potato gun.
Good try this at home
Can
stories.
we submit story ideas?
I don't know that the Archimage...
Okay.
I don't know that the Archimage takes story ideas, nor do I want you to give them to him.
Are you still recording?
Yes, I'm still recording.
Do that.
Daddy,
Why
can I
are you
is this
recording?
safe under all my stuffed
Yeah,
animals?
if you've got any story ideas, say them right now.
Let's see. It's something that Chara and Asriel secretly do that is that is a surprise for somebody else and involves something that is a very, very good idea to try at home.
That their parents would fully approve of?
They have battled the coronavirus.
What?
Wait, Daddy,
That sounds like kind of
heard-
a bummer of a story.
Daddy,
Yes.
if like Frisk and like Asriel and Chara play games, then they should like do it and then like stream it and then like viewers.
I don't think
That
so.
sounds
Definitely
like boring.
So Chara and Azrael and Frisk get onto Twitch and start streaming what, Smashing Fighters?
They are 10.
They are 10. Yeah, that's right. They probably can't have a Twitch account.
10. Then why does Asriel have a full-size bed?
Because if he had only had a twin bed, the story wouldn't have worked.
And
Somebody would have fallen off.
And the animals also would have fallen.
And there couldn't have been quite as many animals.
Okay, now there needs to be something like that of Kara's that they won't show to Asriel.
Where Chara has secrets?
Sure.
I think that was the stuffed animals.
Yeah, except Azrael already figured it out.
Whatever.
Yep.
Are you still recording this?
I'm still recording this.
Okay.
yes.
I don't understand.
Oh, I need to know something. How does the Archimage pronounce Chara? Is it Chara or Chara or Chara?
Good question.
Because we're having a big argument. We're having an argument over that, let's say.
Yes.
It's a very long argument.
It better be.
I've never heard that he... I guess I just don't know.
Why?
It'll go into this recording. Maybe he'll answer.
Wait, Daddy,
What? He should have something like-
It's weird that I think that like Asriel, he doesn't want Chara to see his stuffed animals, but he doesn't really care about what Chara thinks about him seeing Chara's stuffed animals.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't want Chara to think that he's not cool. And so once he sees Chara with a stuffed animal, he realizes, hey, maybe maybe it's still cool to have stuffed animals.
Alright, they should all like hang out with Undyne sometime.
And that has stuffed
Like
animals.
both.
I believe
I can totally see
I believe
that.
the Archimage's wife has many stuffed animals, which might have been the impetus for
Can we
this
see a
story.
picture
There should be something
of
like
Chara's
Asgore and
stuffed animals?
Toriel both have to be out of town, so Undyne takes them for the weekend.
Yes!
Oh,
And then
Asriel, Frisk, and Chara all stay over at Undyne's house for the weekend.
and
While
Undyne has
Asgore
like
and-
lots of stuffed animals.
No, they just have a lot.
Undyne has lots of stuffed animals.
Undyne has stuffed spears that aren't stuffed. They're meant to deter attackers.
Stuffed spears that are not stuffed,
Alphys would,
also known as spears.
Alphys would be the one with all the stuffed animals. But I think having
yes.
another stuffed animal story.
Can't you see Undyne
It would be like
with
a
a stuffed
Mew Mew
animal
Kissy
and
Kitty.
she's just being like all passionate about stuffed animals and just like
True.
No, it would be a Mew Mew Kissy Cutie prop or something.
yeah.
And Alphys would have it.
Yes, she
But, like,
probably
Metatron
would.
shows up with one.
Metatron?
I can't see
Everyone
that.
has stuffed animals.
Metatron would not.
Maybe
Unless it was a doll of himself. That's
yes,
really
that is
what
yes,
he
that is
wanted.
absolutely what he would have.
He would buy out all the stock of stuffed Metatron dolls. and have those.
The Metaton EX has a stuffed little square Metaton.
Wait,
doll.
Daddy,
Probably.
you should do a story about
you
like
have a car.
coronavirus and like how would that work with like Asriel and like
Probably
Toriel
wouldn't quite
and
work.
Asgore.
That still sounds like kind of a downer of a story.
True.
Once upon a time, Azrael caught COVID-19.
Why did not catch it?
Well, what did you want? You watch the coronavirus floating around and they don't catch it? You could maybe write some kind of social distancing
Yes, that's what
story.
I-
Daddy, they have to figure
That's
out a
what
way
you
to
meant, I
like
see.
do stuff and not be bored out of their minds because quarantine and
Oh, yeah.
The-
Somebody who
Anyway. What?
I was trying to remember who wrote the story about Frisk being sick and Chara serving
That
them
was
soup.
anonymous.
I believe that was anonymous. Yeah, believe it was.
Yeah. Or they could do. If there could be one Asgore and Toriel like after the weekend, then it's like the skeletons who take care of them instead.
Nah, Undyne would be funnier.
Undyne
Sans.
would be more fun.
I don't think Sans would have stuffed animals, but
Pirates
Pirates.
says action figures.
Yeah, and like stuffed animals. Yeah, I can see him with stuffed animals.
And more action figures.
The stuffed bones.
What is it with you and having stuffed animals in all the stories now?
Sans wouldn't
We
have
need more
stuffed
Chinese
animals.
at home stories. That's what we need.
We do. We need to try this
Ooh,
home story.
how about
with
sliding
Undyne.
down the stairs on cardboard and ramming your head into the wall?
No, we've already had that one. Wait, we've already done that. This is news to me. Explain. There are no there are no holes in the wall that I know
Well,
of.
there's nothing dead, Jim.
No, I
a
know.
softball
Oh,
when
yeah.
the house is getting big.
Yeah, but that's no. Yeah, that's.
Oh, I still don't know how I didn't make a dent in the wall.
So what should
I
happen?
don't know.
No, we need a coronavirus thing so that we know what to do before this stuff ends, and we can go do normal.
So like a public service announcement story.
No. Like a try
Where,
this at home
uh,
social distancing thing.
So everybody at the end turns to the camera or to the reader and says, "Hi, I'm Chara. Thank you for reading my story, but remember, the coronavirus is no joke. So please, wash your hands."
And then Laura is just like,
Not washing hands.
no.
Chara probably washes their hands a
Probably
lot.
not Asriel.
Tara is like, this is how you wash your hands. Gets like 20 squirts of soap and does the doctor version of hand washing. 20 seconds and then washes up and down the elbow and
Anyway, so you.
and then Asriel's like, no. And then you just
While
like get
wearing-
a sprinkler and Frisk comes onto the hose and
Yeah.
Asriel just like
Maybe Chara washes all the way up to their elbow while wearing a sweater. Just washes the sweater
Okay, so
up
the
to the elbow.
stories that we need is Undyne takes them for the weekend, and there's some great try this at home stuff with Undyne.
oh,
Then there's try this at
there
home
could be a
social
short
distancing.
series.
Yeah, try this at home series.
Yes.
Oh, Daddy, Chara
We already have one of those.
Try this at home
Chara's
series.
honestly probably glad for social distancing because they're kind of like us, like sociopaths. Isn't that like a thing?
Chara's not. Chara's not a sociopath.
They just-
That's somebody
they
who
just don't
hates.
like-
Well, I guess Chara does sort of canonically hate humanity, or did. So yeah,
True.
But
It's like,
But that's not
in this
why-
story, Chara would just be a severely introverted, social anxiety kind of person, which is a little bit different than wanting to kill everybody.
yeah,
That's called being genocidal.
Chara gets nervous at pep rallies, but is not trying to murder everyone there.
Yeah, unlike what everybody thinks.
Yeah.
And
Well,
those were some
I
great
think
stories.
Chara is in safe hands with the Archimage. I don't think you'll ever. No. He has a very soft spot for Chara, so you'll never see a murdery Chara.
good.
Unless I'm greatly mistaken, but no,
Well,
Chara's.
we better not see a murder.
Chara's his
Jack
favorite
is a
character.
murdery Chara,
In fact,
then-
that's how he found Undertale, because he was looking for
Oh.
Chara stories.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was the one that.
You should write that because that would be fun.
I don't remember. Well, it's not done yet. It's your turn to write it, by the way.
Okay.
Let him know that it's not my fault that there's no new chapter because I wrote the last chapter.
Well, he doesn't know any of these voices, so. There you
Probably
go.
haven't read it.
Well, I'm the one that wrote the last chapter.
Oh, Yisha wrote the last chapter, and
yeah.
Flying Unhindered is
Yeah.
dilly-dallying.
Flying Unhindered is the one that writes all the Undyne dying stories.
Flying Unhindered is hindering the progress
Yes,
of like
Yes!
Flying Hindered.
Flying Hindered is my new name, huh?
Goofing off hindered.
Wow, that's such a nice name.
All right,
Does he even know
you
what
should
mist
tell him
is?
there's quite a lot of.
Does he even know what mist is?
That's-
Yes.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah, I think he
So he
maybe
likes-
has played the first game. I can't remember. He at least knew enough to know that
It was a crossover.
that Mist existed, and he knew that I liked it. I think maybe he's
And
played
he
one of
should
them.
read it.
Well, tell him Yeesh.
I think he did. I think. Well,
Mist
actually, I
is.
can't swear to it. I don't know if he read Undertale.
I think there's some kind of unique stuff in there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mixed up so many things. So tell him that yes, Kara stories are good, but not murdery Kara.
Okay,
because murdery
question.
Kara is not good.
How
I think
heavy-
all his Undertale stories involve Chara.
Okay, Catherine, look up.
That makes sense.
Daddy, question.
Hey, you
okay.
haven't even written that yet.
So if you have a full-size bed covered in stuffed animals, and I'm assuming it's like a mound, how heavy is that?
Not that heavy.
I don't know if
Yeah,
it's
let's say you
taller.
get, like, 300.
Well, let's see. How tall are you?
We already published published story, aren't we?
Like 4 for 10.
Yeah.
4 for 10. All right, so
So it's
they'd have to
it's
be
like 5 feet tall.
they'd have to be 5 feet tall of stuffed animals, covering a full size bed.
this, like-
That's probably a fairly significant amount of stuffed animals.
It's taller than both.
It's a well reinforced bed.
Yeah, but like how heavy is that? Like on the people sleeping under all of them.
Apparently, it just feels like soft cloud and hugs.
Apparently they're gonna be monster kid and whatever thing.
Yeah, they're not getting much Smashing Fighters
Tell-
practice in.
Is that the same thing as Super Smash Bros?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Tell the Archimage that there in the future someday, once it is done, there will be another story.
Yeah.
And it will involve
Someday.
Chara.
Someday we'll have
In
another
some-
story.
Way, shape,
Well.
or form, or fashion.
I'll believe it when I see it.
But it's not my fault that one's not getting work done either.
Well, maybe you should write
It's
your
not
own
my
one
fault that
shot.
I've got 2 mock trials and the first one is tomorrow, okay?
He has no idea what that is.
So,
Are you recording this?
Yes.
Yes.
It's time to stop.
it's not.
Nobody is listening to this
I
anymore.
bet you will.
Everyone tuned out of this video long ago.
Alright, everyone, this is the coronavirus. Everything, please wash your hands. Please make sure to not wash your hands and keep 6 feet away from the computer while reading this story in case we may have spread any germs to you through the computer or like viruses, like computer viruses, you know, or bugs. That is what the coronavirus
We are a
is.
long, long way away from our story at this point.
The story was good. Okay, at the end, the story was great. Please try this at home.